And welcome to another edition of the Coach's Perspective here on Riverside TV, as it is a playoff edition. We have all the league games done. Now we're getting to the nitty gritty. And I'll tell you what, before we start tonight's show, let's bring in my co-host, my guy in the booth, my dearest buddy in the world, the great Ghazal Hassan. How you doing today, Ghazal?
I'm doing wonderful. Happy November to you. I hope you and your family had a wonderful Thanksgiving. No, wonderful Halloween yesterday.
We had 400 plus kids at the State Leagueora Manor. There was everybody was dressed up. I had baby sharks. I had vampires. I had a little guy that was making that had a fruit stand that he was pushing around. It was the best of times at the Gorham house. It was fun. But Ghazal, let's talk about what's most important. This week we have 3 games on the docket for Riverside TV. There are 5 home games in the city, and City of Riverside is covering 3 of them. Let's start off with our Thursday matchup between Adelanto and the Norte Vista Braves at the stadium at Norte Vista, Zach Erb Stadium. What are your thoughts about this game?
You know, it's at the Zach, and this is what you play for. You play for the playoffs, and I think this is Division 9 game. If you talk to coaches honestly, they're like, hey, aside from the top couple of divisions, the first game is the most important because the first game could be a springboard. Teams are generally matched fairly evenly. And so it's a big springboard for Norte Vista. Can they run the football? Can they stop the run? And can they sprinkle in a couple of nicely timed passes? They've been able to throw the ball the last couple of weeks and come away with a first-round victory. And once you got that first-round game in the back of your pocket, in your back pocket, then anything can happen. But let me tell you something. Adelanto is going to be a tough customer for them. They're going to be a tough out for Norte Vista. I have full confidence in the Braves, but the Saints are a very tough team, and you cannot overlook them.
Yeah, in fact, I think they had a coaching change earlier in the year. They've had quarterback changes. It's going to be a completely different team. I've talked to Coach Batdorf. He is a little concerned with the athleticism and the strength of this team.
Yeah, they're a strong team. I mean, they're not particularly big, but you're right. They have experience. They're senior heavy, particularly on the offensive side. And I think it'll be a good challenge for the Braves of Norte Vista. But you're going to have to play good teams in the playoffs. So that's the way it works. And I think the Braves have a pretty good chance to advance. But again, you can't sleep on the Saints.
And talking about Division 9, let's stay right there. There is another team from the River Valley that bumped from Division 10 up to Division 9 going into the playoffs, and that is the team that just beat Norte Vista, and that's Hillcrest. They're at the bottom of the bracket. What do you see with Hillcrest this week?
I wouldn't say bottom of the bracket. Hillcrest Quartz Hill is a very intriguing matchup, and both these teams could be live rolling through the bracket, So the winner of this game, I think, is going to have some serious momentum going forth, and they're going to kind of be that team nobody really wants to play. I think Hillcrest may be a little bit underseeded. They kind of want to balance the bracket out a little bit. I think Quartz Hill, because they got it as an at-large, they could be a little underseeded as well. So you may see 2 underseeded teams here trying to turn it around.
Now, how exciting could it be that we could have a River Valley League final once again in the championship of Division 9?
Yeah, so Hillcrest and Novi are on opposite sides of the bracket. Novi actually was one of the top 4 teams. I believe they're the 4th seed in the bracket. And I think Hillcrest in that 7-10 line. So that would be really, how great would that be? The interesting thing is in a couple other brackets, I don't want to get too far off the topic. I was surprised because they have some league teams now playing in the first round. Traditionally, that's not supposed to happen until the semifinal round.
Yeah, there's been a whole lot of a lot of people angry, I should say, a lot of coaches this week angry because they didn't get in, but luckily we have some great ones here in the city of Riverside. Let's talk about our other game on Friday night. That would be Ramona versus Northview. Ramona, 9-1. Coach Mush has that thing going on all cylinders. What do you think of that matchup?
Really great intersectional rivalry. It's like Riverside and Covina, kind of 2 similar kind of areas going at it. And I'll say the same thing. Northview, they got a pretty good squad. They've had a good squad. That's kind of like what Ken Mashinsky has built over at Ramona. They've built over at Northview, and very balanced. They can do a lot of different things. Their defense is pretty good. So again, Ramona's going to be challenged, but Ramona's pretty good. And Ramona has the X factor, Mr. Bo Bruins.
Bo Bruins, the came out of nowhere, really. We saw him last year and said how wonderful he is, but now everybody is starting to realize how good this young man is. He's fantastic. And I'll tell you what, they got a lot of weapons at Ramona. Not only do they have Bo Bruins, they got a great great quarterback, and they've got 4 outstanding receivers and one of the biggest offensive lines we've seen around in a long time.
Yeah, the offensive line and the defensive line, Jeff, for Ramona, they've done a huge job, and that's one of the benefits of playing in a league with a Hillcrest and a Norte Vista. You know, you got the big boys up front. You need them, and Ken Mashinsky went out. He either got some big boys or started feeding his little boys. By the time they were in 11th grade, they were big boys.
Well, that's true. I'll tell you what, Ramona's, they're going to be good for years to come. A great freshman team, good JV team. And even though he's losing a lot of guys, losing those great players in Bo Bruins' son, Nate Johnson, they're going to rebuild. But let's talk about the other game we have on Riverside TV on Friday night, and that is King versus Troy. King comes in narrowly getting into the playoffs. I think they finished 5th in their conference, but yet they get in, and they're going to play a very formidable Troy team.
Yeah, I think Jason McMahon's head coach at King, he had a major anxiety attack because after they lost on Thursday, he texted me and he said, wow, you think we're still, he was really nervous. I said, Coach, relax, go have an Arnold Palmer, go get some potato skins. You are in. The only question is, where are you going to end up in terms of the bracket? And again, it'll be an exciting, and we have some good games that we're going to be able to present to the Riverside audience. But again, a tough matchup for King. But again, it's the playoffs. You're going to have to play some good teams at some point. And I think it'll be good coming off that loss. There's no letdown for them. And I think King's a pretty good team. We've seen King a couple times this year. And when they're working, when they're executing, they're very, very good. But I think with Jason McMahon's, when we were texting, he was a little bit maybe underwhelmed at some of the execution, particularly late on the offensive side. So they need to turn it up. This is playoff time. It's an entirely new season. It's a breath of fresh air. You get a second chance at it, but you got to produce.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Troy comes in at 8-2. Jason McMahon's in only his second year at the helm of the Wolves. You got to be proud of those guys.
Yeah, they did a great job. Troy's a really good team, but you get them at home. So he's a little bit of an advantage to get them at home. And if they play like we saw them play early in the season in terms of executing, the boys in the trenches really doing a good job, it's anybody's game, and I think they could give Troy a game.
Yeah, in fact, King goes and beats Temecula Valley earlier this year. I mean, that's a huge win. I think that's what got him in. But I'll tell you what, Nick Rice and J.R. Ibarra will be on that call. You and I will be on the call over at Ramona. So we've got ourselves a doubleheader starting Thursday. You and I and Pep will be on the sidelines, and then Friday night as well. But before we get going here, let's talk about the last game we just had. That was RCC. The Tigers, ranked number 1 in the state. What are they in this week's Gridiron National Poll? Have they moved up from number 3?
Yeah, I haven't seen the state poll yet. I'm guessing they'd still be number 1. They're still number 3 in Brad Hoysett's Dirty 30. There are, I think, 7 Southern California teams among the top 30. Mount Sacs up there, Fullerton's up there, Golden West, San Diego Mesa, Long Beach. So all these teams that RCC has played, they're also in the national poll. And, whenever we talk to Tom Kraft, he's like, I'm only care about this game. The only important game is the next game. Well, 8 down, Tom, 2 to go. They got Cerritos. That'll be a big one on the road against Saturday because Cerritos kind of is the last man standing. We have a long run. We say one man to beat. Cerritos is that one man to beat for RCC right now. They're 7-1 and they're undefeated in league play as well.
Well, that'll be a good one, but we will be back with the Tigers, I'm sure, when they hit the playoffs in 3 weeks. Ghazal, it is always great to have you on the show. We're going to interview Ken Mashinsky, Jason McMahons, and bringing in Pep Fernandez here on the Coach's Perspective. Any last thoughts before we get going?
Playoff time, man. Anything can happen. It's like the old Mickey Mouse Club on Surprise Day. Anything can happen, and it usually does. I cannot wait to see the scroll of the scores on Thursday and Friday with some of these wacky playoff games, Jeffrey.
Well, he is the great Ghazal Hassan, my partner in the booth, my partner in crime, and one of my dear friends. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you Thursday night, Ghazal.
See you Thursday, Jeff.
All right, when we come back, we're going to have more here on the playoff version of the Coach's Perspective here on Riverside TV. And welcome back to the playoff version of the Coach's Perspective here on Riverside TV, as we are now joined by my favorite coach in all of Riverside, because he coaches at the best high school in the world, and that is the Ramona Rams, and head coach Ken Mashinsky. How you doing, Coach?
Good, Jeff. Hey, thanks again for having us on here, man. We're real excited about this upcoming game.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's think of it this way. The year was 1988. I was a junior. I had flowing blonde locks of hair. I was handsome, and I was living my best life. That was the last time that the last time Ramona won a league championship. Congratulations. It was only 30 plus years, but good job, Coach.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. I'm going to allow that Freudian slip to occur just one time because it's where you work. But yeah, it's been a while since we've had an outright league championship here at Ramona. I was actually a senior playing my last year of high school football in 1988 for the Temple City Rams. So it was a great coincidence that, we won a league championship back then with my head coach was Jim Walker, the pretty famous coach at Redlands High School. And then to come back and win it again here at Ramona. It's very special for the community, for the school, for the kids and their parents and the administration. Just everybody's real excited for it.
Yeah, speaking of Coach Jim Walker, how cool is it to have him at your game versus Norte Vista when you guys clinched, at least your share of the River Valley League title?
Oh, it was fantastic. We had talked about it this summer. We actually ran into each other camping, and he said, I'll try to make a game. And it just happened to be the Norte Vista game. I had some buddies from King that I coached with come out. And then even more importantly, I had some high school buddies fly in and drive in to the Novi game. And it wasn't because it was a Novi game. It just happened to fall on that day. So to win that game at home, our last home game of the regular season, it was great. And the fact that Coach Walker was there to celebrate it with me made it very special.
Now, Coach, a great season. I want to tell you, 9-1. You only had one hiccup, and I'm sure you'd love to have that game back. But I will say this, what can you tell us about Northview, who's coming in? They were a CIF champ last year. You draw them the first round.
Yeah, the way that CIF is put together right now, every team that you play in CIF is a good team. And Northview, they do not disappoint. They won CIF championship last year in Division 10. They made a great state run. But this year's team it's actually very similar to our football team. They're very big up front offensively. Their defensive line is just lightning quick. They have some active, very active backers, especially number 7. He's just a stud. They have a great run game and a very competent pass game. So it's going to be a great battle between two very similar teams. Actually, a guy that graduated from my old high school used to be the head coach at Northview, Brian Beveridge. So it's funny all these things that come up when football happens.
Now, Coach, you've been at Ramona and really have built this program from, like I said, in the 80s when I remember the great coaching. Coach Markham was over there. You had Orr Stekovich. Great guys that were coaches. How fun is it? How rewarding, fun. What are your thoughts going through your head with such a successful season and having the entire school, the staff, the kids, the faculty, everybody, they love Ramona football right now. How cool is it being a Ramona Ram?
Oh, it's awesome. It's indescribable. We've been here 6 years. And some of my staff has stayed. Some of them have moved on to other schools or other positions. Understandably so. That's what happens in high school sports and college sports and pro sports. Adam Gonzalez is the one coach who has stuck around since year one. And we've made the playoffs 6 years in a row. We've constantly gotten to a higher level, going from, the Division 13 championship to last year going to Division 8. Now they're moving us up to Division 6. So we're making strides athletically, but even more important, we're getting more kids involved in football, more people involved. The community is coming together, and they always have, but it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And at the Norte Vista game last week or 2 weeks ago, I turned around and I rarely look at the crowd, but it was just so cool to see how many people were there and the activity going on. So yeah, it's been a special blessing. I thank God every week on Friday night before the game for giving me the opportunity to coach at Ramona.
Well, can you tell your athletic director, John Tibbles, he needs to have the student section to the left or the right of the press box. We couldn't even see the game. There were so many people, but it was great to see. I want to mention one thing about your team. I don't know if you got this from, I think, Temple City maybe, but you have your kids march right through the bleachers before the game. Might be the coolest thing I've seen. I know Elsinore does it, but to see Ramona do it with a packed house, that was something special. Where did you get that idea from?
Yeah, so actually I stole that idea, or I borrowed that idea. I'm a teacher, so that's how we get things. We take them from other teachers. From when I was coaching at Beckman High School in Irvine. They did it. I can't remember exactly what they called it. I just thought it was such a unique experience for the fans and players to interact. So we brought it to Ramona. Coach Ball, Clint Ball, who's the head baseball coach here, and our announcer, who does a great job, named it the Rampede. So, we go through and have a little interaction before the game. And that's what high school football is about, right? It's having fun and getting the crowd involved, getting a little hype before the game, and then coming out on and Friday Night Lights. That's what it's about. I'll
tell you what, it felt like a Rocky movie. I was fired up. I was ready to hear Eye of the Tiger. I was ready to go out and fight Apollo Creed. I was ready.
Well, that's good. We aim to please. Hopefully this Friday night is the exact same thing.
Well, Coach Mush, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and it's great to see the Rams from my years as an alumni, to see you guys doing so well and to win your first outright River Valley League championship. But we will be on the call Friday night. Ghazal Hassan, Pep Fernandez, and myself will be there. We will be ready to watch the Rams in your first-round matchup versus Northview. Coach, thank you as always for joining us, and looking forward to seeing you Friday night.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff, Ghazal, Pep. I appreciate it, guys. We'll see you guys Friday night.
He's the great Ken Mashinsky of Ramona High School, the greatest high school in the world, as we will have them Friday night. We will come right back with more on the coach's perspective, including Jason McMains of King High School. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the coach's perspective, the playoff version, as we are now joined by the head coach of the King Wolves, one of my buddies, one of my bald friends, the great Jason McMains. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing, Coach?
I'll tell you what, I'm not as good as you, because I'm telling you, you're in the playoffs, you have a home game, and you're playing Troy. Tell us a little bit about Troy before we get into the Wolves.
And Troy's an experienced playoff team. I think they've been there the last 3 or 4 years. A great wing T team. I think, they were 8-2 this year. They're stout up front. They got a lot of good players, and so it'll be definitely a tough game for us. We're excited for it, but it's playoff time, so we're playing some good teams right now.
Well, Coach, you're only in your second year at King. Could you have imagined this, or was this kind of expected when you took over, that you were going to be in the playoffs come year 2?
Well, for us, we definitely, want that success right away. Obviously us coming in late last year and kind of throwing everything together with the short amount of time, I was very, very happy with how our players responded and what we were able to accomplish last year. I was very pleased with the work that the players put in. So as you saw them progress over the off season and spring, we had a good feeling. We thought that we could possibly take that next step and get into postseason. And, we've had an up and down, crazy season. And, some days it felt like, man, we're there. And then other days it's like, man, it took a couple steps back and maybe we're not there yet. But, I'm proud of our players and how they handled everything through the ups and downs. And, like I told them, it's, to get the playoffs, it's a tribute to the full 10-game season, not just 1 week or one game, So I'm real proud of how the players and the coaches responded week in and week out.
Well, Coach, I'll tell you what, you thought was a setback with your starting quarterback going down early in the season, but it's been the next man up. And I'll tell you, it's been next man up for a few guys on your team that have really stepped up this season.
Yeah, I'm real proud of those guys, not just at the quarterback spot, but, we've had some issues up front, up the offensive line. And even last week we had some injuries, and, we have that mentality, and our players, like I said, I give all the credit to our players and the way they've been able to step up and respond to those situations. It shows a lot of maturity and growth on their part. And we're trying to establish that mentality of, injuries happen, things happen. We got to be able to continue to progress, and the next man's got to come up, and we have faith in that next guy. And so I think it's worked out for the most part this year.
Now, Coach, what is the feeling around King going into a home game? I mean, is the feeling on campus palpable, or is everybody talking playoff football with you guys right now?
Yeah, the excitement is awesome. I mean, it comes, obviously from the top administration. They're excited. I think Coach George, Chip George, our athletic director, has, called me several times, since Sunday. It's kind of funny because as soon as the brackets got posted, mine wouldn't refresh and mine wouldn't load up to the, and I thought we were going to be either Division 6 or 7. So I'm trying to get over there straight to those two brackets, and nothing's popping up. And, this is after 3 straight days of just, no sleep, nothing. And here comes 10:02, 10:03, and I still can't get those brackets popped up. And then of course, Coach George calls me right away, and he, I didn't even want to answer because I wanted to find out for myself, but I, after a while, I just kind of picked up the phone, and, he's like, "I'm sure you know already." And I'm like, "No, I don't. So tell me." And, so he was excited. Obviously they're excited to host the game. Our players are excited, and that's definitely, a big goal of ours, that we set out at the beginning of the season. We accomplished that. So I saw the excitement from the players, obviously during our team meeting, and, yesterday's practice was real well, but, a lot of teachers, we've been talking about it, and, there's a good excitement, and rightfully so. I mean, it is playoff time, and it's good to have the King Wolves in the playoffs.
Well, Coach, I'm on every field in the city of Riverside. I've been around a lot of programs, but I can tell you this, going around your team before games to see how focused you guys are. And, I would like for you to mention, you have a great staff with you as well. You guys always look so focused and so prepared, and that's one thing I'm going to tip my cap off to you guys. And that starts with you, Coach, as the head coach, but you have a great staff over there at King.
No, we do, and it starts with our offensive coordinator, Coach Johnstone, does an amazing job with that unit. Coach Javez Robinson does an amazing job with the defense, and I can go, on and on. And it's definitely, been a challenge, kind of getting, prior staffs, together with what has been on my staff for a while, and kind of getting to gel. But that's something that, I think we've all done a pretty good job of. And, it's all for the kids, I mean, we always have egos and different ideas, but bottom line is we all want the same thing, and we want to see our players in King High School be successful.
Well, Coach, you and I have been friends a long time, and long before I did this and you were coaching. And I'll tell you, it's been nice to see your success every step of the way, and it's nice to finally see you settled into a place that you will thrive and continue to do well. So, Coach, congratulations on such a great season, and we will be looking forward to covering you guys Friday night as you guys are going to battle Troy.
I always remember the days back at Haruba Valley's locker room and seeing like, hey, who's this big bald dude? What's he all about? Why is he around? And it was good time, good start, Coach. And like I said, I can't thank you enough. And, for all that you do for us and Riverside High School sports and, the National Football Foundation as well. You're the man, and can't thank you enough, brother.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is always fun covering you, and I hope the King Wolves get that second round and third round and win that championship. Coach, you do a great job. We'll see you Friday night. He's Jason McMains, the head coach of the King Wolves, and we will see him Friday night. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back here on The Coach's Perspective on Riverside TV. And welcome back to the Coach's Perspective. It's the playoff version. And guess what? It's my favorite part of the show where I get to bring on my little buddy, my best friend in the entire world, the great Pep Fernandez. How are you?
Jeff, listen, I thought I was fired up for the playoffs. I think you might actually be more fired up for the playoffs and what these Riverside teams might be able to do and string together some wins and maybe make a CIF championship game like we saw Arlington last year.
Well, just let's put it this way. This beard right here, it's for Movember. This is how excited I am. Listen, it grew overnight, October 31st, November 1st. This is what it is. It's excitement for high school football, and we do have some teams I think that could make a good run. Let's start with the River Valley League. 3 teams, best league we've had in a long time with the River Valley League. Let's start with Ramona. What are your thoughts on them?
Listen, I was hoping Ramona would be in Division 7. The problem is the Rams are too good. Ramona is that good this year, and they got put in Division 6. And, Jeff, I was going up and down the bracket. Division 6 is tough. Now, we have another, if you follow Inland Empire football, we got San Jacinto also in Division 6. San Jacinto's really, really good. So if the other teams in Division 6 are, let's say, similar to San Jacinto, it's going to be tough for Ramona. The good news is they're really, really good this year, so they might actually be able to make it to the championship game. But again, I was hoping they'd be in 7, but again, they just had such a great season, and they got rewarded for it. They're all the way up in Division 6, and that is some really good football, Jeff.
Yeah, but think of it this way. They're playing a team that just won a CIF championship last season. How is that favorable to my Rams?
Here's the thing, and I could go on and on about this. The CIF playoff format has a lot of flaws, and I know there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way, that it's not perfect. There's a lot of flaws. What I would like is that league champions should get more – there should be more value in winning a league title. So, like, for example, Ramona, you win a league championship, your first-round game should be – easier, right, than having to play like a defending CIF champion. There should be a way that you can reward teams who have a great regular season and win a league title. I've covered football in up and down the state of California in about 5 different sections, and they always reward the teams who are 10-0 or 9-1, like they get all these home field advantage games. But down here in the southern section, it's all about equity, and they want teams to have to do coin flips. And so now Ramona is a league champion, and they're playing a very tough game. And in the second round, they'll probably be on the road. And so it's just tough. It's just a very tough road to make it to the finals. But if anybody can do it, it's Coach Mush, and it's Ram High in Division 6.
I agree. But let's talk. We have to talk about this. Hillcrest in their 2 wins in the River Valley League. I want you to think about this. They were down 20 points to Patriot with 4 minutes to go. They come back and win by 1. Then they go and they're down 10 points to Norte Vista with 4 minutes to go. They win by 10. They outscored their opponents 40-0 in 8 minutes. I mean, Hillcrest, they come out of nowhere. They get second place in the River Valley League. What are your thoughts on them come Friday night?
Well, for one is, for Travis Carter, the head coach at Hillcrest, I'm hoping his team doesn't wait until like the last minute, right, to come back and get a win. He's probably getting a lot of gray hairs in those games, specifically against Patriot and Norte Vista. And Jeff, I worked sidelines for you and the Riverside TV team in that game Friday against Norte Vista, and I had to go back and think about it and think, wow, they scored 20 points in like whatever it was, 2 or 3 minutes to win that game, the touchdown and the onside kick and another touchdown, and then the pick 6 at the very, very end. I'm like, that was an incredible finish. Once I had time to kind of digest everything that happened, that was one of the best high school football games I had ever seen. And for Hillcrest, it just means this is a team that's resilient. They're never going to give up. They're never going to feel like they're out of a game. And hopefully that's going to pay off in the playoffs for Hillcrest. Even if they get down early, because they're in Division 9. There's some good teams in D9. They're never going to feel like they're out of a game.
Well, let's talk about that third place team, Norte Vista. Norte Vista, who's pretty much in Division 9, pretty much all season long. Hillcrest, who was in Division 10, they jump up to 9, but they're at the bottom of the bracket. We could have a River Valley League final if they can win out going into the championship.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it with CIF. When they lay out the brackets, sometimes they do get it right. And this time they got it right because they took these two league rivals, they put them on opposite sides of the bracket. So if they do meet in the playoffs, it would be for a championship. Can you imagine that, Jeff? Hillcrest and Novi for the title in Division 9. That would be unbelievable. I know we've got a long road to get there. But for Norte Vista, you know, they're playing Adelanto. I know we're going to have the game on Riverside TV. Adelanto, last couple of years, they've had some good teams that have got to CIF championship games. But, Jeff, I was looking at their record. They kind of had a down season. I feel like Novi's got a pretty good path to get deep into the playoffs. I mean, do you agree?
I was just going to tell you, remember Arlington last year, and I picked them early. I picked Arlington before we started the playoffs and said they would win the championship. I was the only time I've ever been right. I'm going to go out on a limb this year, and I'm going to say this is going to be Ken Batdorf's best chance at getting to a CIF championship this season. He lost 19 guys last year. He rebuilds, and he has an opportunity with a young team to go to the finals, and I'm picking him now to go all the way to the finals. Not saying a win, but a finals appearance.
And I hope you're right. Like, we're going to see him on Thursday night against Adelanto, and I think we're going to find out real fast. And this will probably be one of the things I harp on when I'm, roaming the sidelines for Novi, is that how do they bounce back after that deflating loss against Hillcrest? I mean, they had that game. They should have beat Hillcrest, and they let it go in the final minutes. So can they respond? Can they regroup and dial in for a playoff run? I think that's something to keep an eye on as we broadcast that game on Thursday night.
Well, Captain Ahab, Ken Batdorf, if anybody can do it, it will be him. He's somehow has a bag of tricks he pulls out. Let's talk about the other teams that are made the playoffs. Let's go with King, because we have King on Friday night as well. King playing, a very, very good team this week. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, King got a home game again with the CIF playoffs and the weird divisions and how they lay out the brackets. And, you would think that King, who barely snuck into the playoffs, I believe they were the fourth place team.
The fifth place team. They were the fifth place team and got in.
Exactly. So, but they got a home game, so it's hard to say. But what Jason McMains and the King Wolves have done enough this season. They've shown enough in glimpses where you're like, you know what? When they're good, they're good, and they could beat some really good teams. So I would not count King out. Like, what are they? Division 8, I believe. I don't have it in front of me, but I think they're Division 8. But they've shown me enough. I go all the way back to the beginning of the year. They battled Roosevelt all the way to the end. They've got some good wins under their belt. So I feel like maybe they're the next Arlington, where they're going to just sneak into the playoffs, just barely get in, and then make a run. We'll have to find out and see, though. But I feel good about King.
Yeah, I might have said this wrong, but I know they're playing Troy. Troy is 8-2. Ramona is playing Northview, and I don't know if I got that backwards. But let's talk about the other two teams. North, JW North got in at the skin of their teeth. The last day, we were talking, there could have been a 4 or 5-way tie.
I know, and it almost happened too because, so here's the deal. I'm at a harvest festival at my church on Sunday night, and our good friend Coach Walter from JW North is like, hey, Pep, in terms of seeding, they were actually the number 2 seed out of that league. So North went from, I don't know, they might not make the playoffs to being the number 2 team out of that league. There was a lot of strange things that happened, but Orange Vista was your league champion, and Rancho Verde finished in second, but JW North beat them head-to-head. So for seeding-wise, they were the number 2 team out of the Ivy League. It's all very, very strange. But with all that said, JW North actually got a pretty good seeding, and they're going to play Vista Del Lago, who is tough, but that's a winnable game for the Huskies. I think they're in a good spot as well. For the Riverside School teams, I think the only one that got a raw deal, it was Ramona.
Yes.
It was just because I feel like they should have been in 7, but they got put in 6. But we'll see how that pans out. But I think JW North, I think 3rd in Chicago actually is in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There are some teams that could come out. But let's talk about the biggest team. Maybe not the biggest, but the 8-man team of California School for the Deaf, Riverside. Hey, we all thought they were going to be in Division 2 8-man. They just got bumped up to Division 1. They're the number 1 seed, but they have a tough draw. They've got to win 2 games to get to the finals. They have a home game Friday and next week, but it could come down to a repeat from last year where they play the same team in the CIF championship.
Jeff, I think you're exactly right. I think it will be the same exact two teams in that championship game. I looked at the brackets too when they came out on Monday morning. I was like, oh man, CSDR is the number 1 seed. But on the very opposite end of the bracket was Faith Baptist. And I thought, oh my gosh, go ahead and just pencil that in. CSDR, Faith Baptist, your 8-man Division I. You pointed out this time, not Division II, but Division I championship game. I think I would be stunned if CSDR does not get to the finals. And I would be shocked if they don't win the whole thing. They should. This is their year.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is the sequel. Last year they came up short. Every year was a Hollywood story. I know Hollywood is making a movie about that team last year, but how great would it be to cap off the sequel with a victory and a state championship? That'd be awesome.
And they deserve it. This is a fantastic senior class. They've been putting in the work for years. They came so close last year, and I feel in some part that drives their hunger, that motivates them to finish the job this year. And this is the senior class. If the Cubs are ever going to do it at CSDR, this is the year, Jeff. This is the year they go all the way.
Well, what do they say? Go Cubs. What was this?
Yeah, Cubs.
Go Cubs. Cubs. Go Cubs.
Yeah.
Well, Pep.
Win Cubs.
Win.
Win
Cubs. Well, Pep, as always, thank you again for joining me on the Coach's Perspective here, the playoff edition. But we can catch Pep's show, the Great Inland Sports Show, Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. And then Friday nights after all of the playoff games, we're going to be back with Pep on Friday night for the recap. Thank you again, Pep. I love you, buddy. You're my best friend in the whole world. And I want you to grow your beard for Movember like me.
Hey, if our Riverside schools keep winning, it's a deal.
Sounds good. He's the great Pep Fernandez, and this has been another edition of the Coach's Perspective here on Riverside TV. I'm Jeff Gorham. Good night, everybody.